We're going to be moving on to our very first panel, and I'm going to invite our panelists to the stage at this time to help us, further that conversation. So first panelist in this first panel session is Professor Cynthia Obiora. Please come up to the stage. You can sit. We also have Shamika Littles, who is the board member, UNESCO Center for Peace. Welcome, Shamika. Next, we have the chairman of U.S. National Commissions, UNESCO clubs, centers, and association, Mr. Guy Jonkin. And the last but not the least, obviously not the least, is Ambassador Dr. Rui Dai, who is the president International AI Association. Ambassador Dr. Rui Dai. And I'm going to also welcome our my co-host, who is going to be leading that panel, Dr. Omokweju Afanu, to lead the conversation. So she can see everybody's faces. Okay.
Yes, so I can see all the faces. All right, you're welcome to this panel. So let me just do like a rundown of what the panel is about. So the panel is to show how reliable power becomes measurable development outcome through AI, climate action, education, and community development and catalytic capital of governance, while positioning girls and energy as central to delivering and translate energizing communities into investable, measurable outcomes and clear partner asks. So it's not about just a conversation, it's about tying the Girls and Energy project across the various sectors that we hope to interface with. So this is where the intersectionality of the Girls and Energy comes in. And we hope our panelists will be able to bring that to bear and bring that to life for us. So we all welcome. So we're going to make this as quick and as brief as possible. Please, we appreciate that you keep to time so that we don't overrun. I'm sure people here have so many other engagements as well. And we still have a lot lined up. Yeah. So my first question would be to everybody. So would want you to just briefly introduce yourself. And then when you do that introduction, we want you to answer one question, which is, what is one measurable way reliable power energizes communities in your work? And what must be done to make it sustainable? So when you do your introduction, you round up with that. Okay. So I'll start with I'll just pass the mic around to Witten.
Okay. As a mean of introduction, my name is Guy Joken. I know a lot tend to say Guy, and I learned not to argue. Call me you know it's me. I'm going to answer. Originally born in Cameroon, but been in the US for the last 30 years, and around the UNESCO Center for Peace, and the US Federation of UNESCO Clubs, but I'm also a visiting professor in a number of universities around the world. So basically, so the other question was to talk about how
Energizing communities to your work.
Okay. Yes, I would like to answer that, but I wanted to, if you allow me, I'll come back because I want to share something with you that will get us thinking through this. A number of years ago, I met a professor who taught me that in the 80s, he traveled to Haiti because Haiti was more developed than South Korea. Think about it. So they were going to Haiti to learn how to govern. how things could happen. That's South Korea. There was poverty and all this after the Second World War. But when we see what has happened today, where is Haiti and where is South Korea? Okay. So let's just think about that. For me, energized outcome is exactly what we could do so that in next it's possible. Okay. It's possible for us to be like South Korea tomorrow if we organize ourselves. So that's the model I'll be talking about next time. Okay. In the interest of time, I turn to the next one. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry, I think my voice is looking for either hot tea or hot coffee.
Take care of that.
Okay, so my name is Professor Mrs. Cynthia Makaobiora. I'm a professor of occupational health, safety, and environment. And I'm also a passionate driver for the human race, the improved life for human race. So I am the founder of Hope Aglo Charity Foundation, where we try to lift lives, to touch individuals. And that's why DoTheDream is important. And for me, it's for the question that our moderator puts up, I would say the energy to be the driver especially for women-led businesses. And the pointer for me is, how do we make energy, reachable for that woman in the village, that woman in the community? Is there a way we can have a pay-as-you-go use for solar panels, where the woman can actually put that her small coin and be able to energize her small business? Is there a way that guy that have the barber shop by the corner could pay something small and energize his business and be able to do that haircut without breaking the bank? So to me, that's a question I want us to also ponder. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Shamika Littles. Thank you again, Dr. Page, for the invitation. And this is my first time here with the program. Warm welcome to everyone here. So I am here in the capacity as a member of the board of directors for the UNESCO Center for Peace, with my special friend, colleague, and brother, Mr. Guy Jokin. My area of focus is strategic partnerships. And to answer your question and to piggyback on the good doctor, I was thinking along the lines when you mentioned it about accelerated economic empowerment for women. And so I had something written out, but I want to piggyback on what she just said, and how to get it in the communities. And it kind of goes back to funding those community banks, those resources that exist in the communities that actually engage with all of us, especially that focus on women-owned, small, medium women enterprises. And of course, the key is reliable power. And the outcomes there, the measurable outcomes, would be a massive boost in women businesses. And you'll then see financial returns. And it goes to my background that I didn't get into. I've been in state service in the state of Maryland for over 27 years. And I worked across various sectors, believe it or not, from finance to grants management, to constituent engagement, to operations management, strategic operations. And in seeing all of those things, we're at a point where we kind of come back to who's at the table and what innovations exist to fund the community banks, the credit unions, those that support women. And that's how we sustain it. It's the power. So that's it.
Okay, thanks for inviting me. My name is Ray, and I'm the president of International AI Association, and we are operating in 22 countries. And now I'm the leader of a very powerful alliance that consists of nearly half the AI computing industry. And interestingly, 10 years ago, I was in the energy business, that industry. So AI and energy, that is a very, very important thing in this world. All the AI computing centers, they need power, they need energy, and all the advanced applications that build on it, that will require energy. And luckily, I actually came from the place that have no experience of shortage of power. That is China. Okay, so China now is the #1 nation for consumption and manufacturing and investing in green energy. Yeah, and it accounts for 60% of the world's green energy production right now, and also accounts for 80% of new green energy capacity. So it is a very big potential in my mind that Africa has 60% of solar resources. It has the good sunshine, but only 2% of green energy investment actually went to Africa. So there's a really, really big gap. And I think that is really a good opportunity. And there is a so-called impossible triangle in the past, that is the energy triangle, reliable, green, and low cost. So that's called impossible to do that, but China has achieved that. Well, in China, actually, green energy is a very profitable business. And the government attracts investment by talking to you. Like if you invest $100 million in our city, I will give you quota to build green energy. So green energy means money in China. So that's the difference. So we love green energy. We love to invest in that. And in China, actually, in many rural places, the solar panels are built for free. So you can get free solar panels on your roof.
Wow.
And you can make money by doing that.
Wow.
The excess electricity actually goes to the state grid and can be a very profitable thing.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the difference. And I think that gap we can it'll create opportunities for us. Yeah.
Okay, so just hold the mic. I'll just ask you the next question, which is, where does AI create the fastest improvements in community energy projects, right? Planning, uptime, maintenance, cost control. Where do you think that AI can help make things better?
Well, in Zhejiang province, there's a new technology in the power grid. So if there is a failure in the system, guess how much time it needed to be diagnosed and isolated from the grid to make everything normal. Let's take a guess. It's 3, but let's guess the unit. 3 what? 3 seconds. Yeah. So that is the time needed to fix the power problem using AI. Why? Because it is not to fix things after it happens. It's to fix before it happens. So the AI detects the abnormality in the power grid. So this part is going to fail. I'm replacing it in advance. So that's the AI usage in the state grid. So China is now, I said, I never experienced like power shortage in my life. So that's the.
Well, everybody seems to be scared of AI. I heard 3 seconds. I'm like, wow, okay, that takes 3 years in Nigeria. So it's obvious we need AI to help accelerate the power situation. So what I'm going to ask is that how a lot of people are afraid of AI because they feel AI is going to take their jobs. AI is the elephant in the room right now. So what do you think? How do you think we can strengthen the trust people have and communities have, especially where you're going to the global south, where access to technology is even not something they don't even have experience on. Then now you're telling them something, one machine is going to be more intelligent than them, or telling them what to do. How do you think we can strengthen that trust in the communities? And then what guardrails do we need to also put in place?
So every industrial or productivity revolution that caused job loss in the first period, but it turns out we all have better life after. For example, we are having hot showers. We are flying through planes. Well, the emperors in the past, they can never imagine that. Right? That is because the technology advanced. That is because the productivity advancement. So there will be a lot of job lost in I believe in the first decade. But after, we will experience life we can never imagine. Like you can live forever. The disease will be solved. Like the gene can be changed that you can live forever because AI solved the problem.
Nobody,
Or-
is there anybody that wants to live forever here? No. Oh wow. Okay, so she's a candidate for AI.
Yeah, or the nuclear fusion be solved by AI. So we have infinite energy.
Yeah.
So we cannot imagine the beautiful life we are going to live later. So we have to experience some suffering at first.
Wow. That's a lot of food for thought. Is anybody worrying about that? Okay. But the truth is, when you look at AI can do a lot, and there are a lot of jobs that will be lost, but there's also a lot of new jobs that will be created. And it's important that we're not afraid, but we also think of how do we tap into this great resource that is artificial intelligence. I think it's just I see when I look at AI, I look at it like my brain multiplied times 1,000, which means that makes me super smart, right? So it's not something I want to be scared of. I want to embrace it. So I'll be moving to you, Shamika. So tell us, right, when we say $20 million catalytic capital, right? What should it fund first to accelerate development? Should it be project preparation, safeguards, skills? What do you think it should fund first, and why do you think so?
Okay, so I'm going to refer to my notes so I don't miss anything. So first, project preparation. That what makes big money comfortable, right? Especially when you add in community engagement and the safeguards. And so here's what I believe and why, and the research that I uncovered after you posed the question is designed to clear the frictions and stops the investors from, and what stops the investors from coming in when we're not ready, when we're not prepared. So that's why I believe in preparation. And by funding first, like the technical studies, getting the community buy-in, looking at the environmental safeguards. So we're at the forefront of doing all of the back end work. Some may call it the homework, but that's really the prep work. So what you then do, you pave the way to, make folks comfortable. Like, I've done your job for you. We've done our due diligence. We looked at it. And so from there, the ideas that we have are now, we can execute them. They're bankable, if you will. And I think that when those risks are removed, then it also paves the way for, governments to be comfortable. You will show that you have the capacity to garner those resources, to be able to tackle them administratively. Additionally, development banks and the private sector, they'll be confident in bringing in the millions you need to scale, because really they need you for your expertise. And companies like the Siemens, if you will, they're looking for small energy initiatives so that they can scale big, if you will. So they have the money, you have the expertise, and here's where the alignment follows. And as we noted, that catalytic capital is the first mover designed to fund these things. And those are the things that, if we're not prepared, that will block the scale. And essentially, in adding in that fundamental work. And we come in with a pool of projects that are de-risk, if you will. And we establish that portfolio and sell it socially, environmentally, and it's sound. We can then begin to unlock all of those pools of money. So they're investable, like that requirement is met. So that's how I look at it. And so I went a step further and thought about like the success in this scenario and what that looks like, because it's ready for investment. You come with a pool of de-risk projects that's ready for investment in 12 months because you've done the prep work, the legwork. It'll take a village, but it's a model that works. Just think about it when you're approaching, just from my grants management background, when you're approaching that grant, you already have gone through that technical checklist, if you will, and that gets you in. And it ensures, so with this 20 million, it ensures that the initial seed money is ready for and creates many implementation pathways. So I have a quick example for you in the spirit of time. So I just wanted to give everyone an example, like an investable example. So I tried to follow your instructions. So imagine in a lot of instances, and even in my past, having, $1 million energy project, it can sit on someone's desk for months, weeks, days, or years, if you will. And the reason being is because it lacks that legal due diligence that was done, that was supposed to have been done, the technical feasibility study, and it sounds a lot, but also to the very, very important thing that goes back to your first question, the community content, the community engagement. And so you think, okay, so what do we do here? The first thing you don't do is buy hardware, software, supplies. That's not the answer. But you first, think about, okay, my catalytic capital, invested in the engineering feasibility study, secure a binding, just for the sake of example, community land agreement, and to get to solar mini grids and obtain the legal counsel. And this is all for the sake of an investable example, to move forward, just to get folks thinking. And so, but overall, this clears the vetting for all of those institutional investors, and having sat on the other side of it, you want something to come to the desk that's ready. And so these are the steps. So in the spirit of time, I'll stop there. Thank you.
So I think what we can pick from this is preparation and being ready to be able to access and tap into greater capital. Because if you have all of these plans and we don't put a house in order and the intentional about what we want to present to the investor, then we're going to have our proposals sitting on a table and nobody's going to attend to it. So it's key for us to understand the process and how this process works and be able to tick those boxes and ensure that we've answered basically most of these questions and we're able to satisfy the needs or the questions of the investors, which would help us unlock more capital. Okay, thank you so much. So yeah, I'll be moving to Professor Cynthia now. So how do you ensure community energy justice delivers climate action and better livelihoods without creating new environmental risk or weak sustainability?
Those are so many very big terms joined in one. But let's pick community energy, environmental sustainability. It's quite simple. First, when you're talking about environment and you're talking about the people, you have to first educate the people so they know that what you are trying to bring to them is for their own good. With education, creating awareness, getting to the grassroots. You pick the decision leaders, let's say a community, you get the chiefs, you get the people that drive opinions. You also get the women. You know, if you go to the market, there are the market women, the market leaders. You get the youth, you go to the community schools, you educate them about, the environmental sustainability of what you have brought in. Say, we're talking about energy, we're talking about solar energy. By the time you educate the community, they will drive it. The sustainable development we're talking about is almost done. Education is one keyword. You prioritize it by making them own it. They have to be ownership. If they own this, because now they know, because ignorance is a disease, but knowledge is the cure. So if you educate them about the need that this should be in place for your own good and for the good of the environment, so that you will be sustained, you will be healthy, you will live a healthy life, live in a healthy environment, and then your business will also be sustainable. I believe with that, you actually will be able to drive, to drive home the key point, and then that investment will be led, there will be champions, there will be community champions to champion this project and own it and deliver it, and they will monitor it. So you now know that the chain of from decision making to actually planning to doing and then to revisiting, you want to know, has this really worked? It's already in place by the time you give the right knowledge to the people. So you know that indeed the job is done. Thank you.
Okay. So that is very, 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 very interesting. And it kind of ties to what Shamika said about stakeholder engagement. If we drive at community level, because sometimes we engage the wrong stakeholders. So it's important to identify the right stakeholders. And that's why we need to be very agile and innovative in our approach. We can't do the same thing and expect a different result. So right now, engagement needs to start from the grassroots to understand. And the most interesting thing is that we had a conversation with the National Coordinator of National Social Safety Net Coordinating Office, and they are in charge of social protection in Nigeria, and then they are administering the National Social Register, which is sponsored by the World Bank. They're doing it in partnership with the World Bank. And one of the things that they said they're doing is they're going on a community engagement. We've actually reached out that would want to be a part of that engagement, because if we want to solve problems for people, we need to go to where these problems exist and find out what exactly are the problems. How do we, what is the exact problem? Because problems differ in different communities. So we can't have a one-size-fits-all approach, but get down to the grassroots, engage with them at the community. And so this is so interesting when hearing you say this, and I believe that once you get back to Nigeria, you're going to have to drive that conversation, because your panelists are saying that. so we need to look at how to do that. And then one last question for you, Prof. And what two climate or environmental indicators should we track to unlock climate finance and credible ESG partnerships? Because these are very critical funding sources that we can unlock towards this project. So what factors do you think?
Okay, so it's always the environment. And the number one thing that everyone needs to know, they need to know the carbon footprint. Are we, what's the carbon footprint? Are we reducing it? Is it being increased? Are we having renewable energy, or are we still using the old method? From where I'm coming from the Niger Delta. where there's oil, there's gas, and then there's also people who bunker these things. So we have local refiners, and then the whole environment is polluted. So two key indicators that you look for is, are we reducing the carbon footprints? That's number one. And number two is, what is the community resilience metrics? What is the metrics? Are we having clean water somewhere, or are our actions making even the waters not drinkable, not usable? How is the livelihood? Is our economies being empowered, or are people beginning to leave town? Are we having a ghost town situation? So those are the key indicators that you should look out for. If we're reducing, gas emission, the air is cleaner, you can breathe better air. I mean, let me take you back to Nigeria. 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when we have a lot of local people, refiners, you can't clean a room and come back in 30 minutes, and it's everywhere we see be covered with dark dust. It's called soot. When you clean your nose and you go back 30 minutes later to clean it again, it's all black. So now those indicators are there. So if now you could actually clean a room, I like practicalities. I don't like big grammars. If they know what to look out for, they know if it's working. I mean, at the end of the day, we're talking about grassroots. We're talking about carrying people from top, because of course, people that hide there, they already know these things. They know the English because they are enlightened. But if you give the local people the indicators to look out for, you know that, before now, the air is so polluted that when you clean your nose or your ear, it's all dark. And now you could actually clean it and it's looking clear. And you could see your waters the fishes are not dying anymore. The women can go to the field, to go to the farm, and they can actually plant and they could see green, fresh vegetables. And the farmers can go to the sea and they can see fishes. Those are clear indicators that what you are doing is working. And let me tell you, if the local drivers of all of this, our grammar, they understand these things, they will be the drivers. That change, they will protect those things. The energy that you want to put in, they will protect it with their lives. They will be the ones championing, and they will be the ones safeguarding this equipment or whatever it is that is put to make their lives better. So, I mean, it's very easy. Just give them the language they understand. Show them practical terms, practicalities. Let them see that, these things, people used to die, children's used to die before age something because the waters are so polluted. Now, you could see that, there's low death rate. The women are not having miscarriages anymore. People are economically viable now because, of course, there's energy powering. I keep saying this when I teach. I say, when God, the first thing he did, he said, let there be light. Light is energy. Let there be light. So let there be light.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So solutions, like we have said, need to be localized to understand how to solve those problems. We can't work in isolation. You can't be in New York and be solving problem in Niger Delta, where you don't even understand the problem, because the people there know the problem, they understand the problem. So we need to localize the solutions. Yeah, finally, Guy. Well, not last but not the least. So the key question I'm going to be asking you is, in a community where power becomes reliable, what changes first in education? Is it the learning time? Is it digital access, or school attendance, and how do we design for those outcomes intentionally?
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Page. As I hear all the other panelists talking, there's some few things that are coming again and again. We're talking about educating our people. What's the meaning of education? I think that's something that we need to agree on, because some believe that education should be like going to school until having a PhD. Some believe you have to be pragmatic. And unfortunately, I would say we are still, many of our school in Africa, pro-Africa, are still using some of the curriculum that were designed by people that that didn't have the interest of our community at heart. Okay, we're trying to do, they developed a system, a curriculum that was trying to screen some of us in our community that are going to be those who represent them best, to help them take a resource away from us. So I think one of the first thing we need to do again is to develop, I would say, develop an educational system throughout the continent that actually answer to the question or to the challenges that we are facing every single day. That's the first thing I have to say about education. Earlier, I compared a number of years ago where you have a country like South Korea that was a poor country versus Haiti that was a country that at the time was doing well, but today, Haiti is almost nowhere. They have zero in terms of governance and things. They have nothing there. So most of us here in Africa, we are talking about education. We need an education that's going to really address the needs of our people. And we don't have that one yet. We need a community that's going to be part of the solution. Because what is a community? We grew up in an environment where there was a sense of community. I was my brother's keeper. I was my mother's keeper. Children, someone would see you on the street. They didn't have to know your parents. If you did something wrong, they would actually help educate you. Okay, they wouldn't be worried about doing certain things. But we are far away from this, and it's mostly individuality. And we're talking about all this, but what are we going to do if we don't have the basic? For me, what are the basic? Building that community again. And how are we going to build that community in the age of AI? I know you were asking about AI. Are we worried about AI? We shouldn't worry about it. For me, the debate is that the AI is here to stay, whether we like it or not. Okay? Are we going to worry about it? Some of the experts, the main difference between all the technology before and now is that the AI is a new time in the history of the tools that we are making, that we're going to create something that even the person creating doesn't know what that thing is going to do. He may learn how to, you teach him how to, again, you can teach him how to do something, he's going to learn and he can better than you. Not because he's smarter than you, because he has all the internet somewhere, you can go and tap in a few seconds, know exactly who did what and things like that. That's why you can produce art and all this stuff. So to go back to what you're saying, we need a community. We need people because as the professor was saying, you cannot lead people to something they don't understand or something they are also buying to make other people happy, okay? We need to go in communities and work with them in a sense that what do they need and what do they want? And sometimes it's not those huge projects. We hear Emus was an economist who received a Nobel of Peace. Why? But in those small loans, with small loans, a couple of $100, you were able to change communities. Okay, for me, I think that is more realistic than us in our community in a village where, if you look at the education, again, those who went to school and things like that, it's very small number of people that could grasp what my sister was talking about, okay? Because we don't even have a government. I would dare to say that. Our government have failed us, okay? Look at our educational system. Look at our health system, all those things. They have abdicated also. For me, we, the civil society, we, those who have been able to go to diaspora and learn all these tools know that we need to go back and find a way to create a system whereby what Sister Shemika was talking about is possible. Right now, it's not possible because I personally know people that went to Nigeria with project on renewable energy, stuck somewhere. I know people right now. So let's stop doing it. The other thing I want to say before I close that we need to look at the way our community, those who left behind, are living every single day. You cannot ask someone, you cannot come and tell someone their rights if they don't have food. Okay, they don't care. They just want to survive, and that's where we are right now. That's where we are right now. So let's try to, again, another thing that I wanted to point out is the fact that, okay, you cannot ask someone to give you 20 million if you haven't showed them that you were able to receive 1 million, and this is how you manage it. Okay, that's the point that I want to bring home. Nobody's going to give you, let's just say 1 million. If you haven't showed that you were able to get at some point have 100,000, this is how you manage it. So for me, that's the way that, first of all, build our community in the sense that every member of our community believe that we have something in common. And that's something, unfortunately, we are not missing out in our community. So our community buildings should be the first one. Again, I talk about the first thing, developing a curriculum that actually answer. We know Africa has more resources than anybody else. It's all about us reorganizing ourselves. I went to a country where almost 60% of the agricultural products that were made were not reaching where people needed it, was spoiled was spoiled over there. So until we keep doing that, I don't see us really getting where we need to be. Okay, so getting our curriculum correct, find a way to build our system to make sure people know that they belong in a community, that we have something that is common for us. Okay, then when we do that, then we can take an example of the AI, right? The Chinese government making such a way that people can use that as a way of not just developing, but as a way of also giving in the community. We know we have the best brain, some of the best universities around the world, some of the best doctors are from Africa. Let's focus on getting those who are managing us to give us the environment so that we can go up and create this community that we can use to make the whole continent better. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. That's a lot to unpack. Wow. Yeah. So we need to create our communities. We need to engage. There's so many things that I've taken from this, right? And I see that if we don't start to, one key thing that seems to resonate is tailoring solutions to the needs of the community. That keeps coming back again and again from the 4 different speakers. It's about tailoring. So we have to move away from this one size fit all. We need to look at what failed. You've spoken about a project that has failed. We don't want to go through the same route again. We want to go back and see, what did they do? What did they do wrong? How do we correct it? Did they engage? Because if the community owns those projects, sometimes the pushback could even be from the community. Because when they don't understand what you're bringing, then they push back. So it's important to do a lot of research to understand, because we're doing a project that we don't want to fail. We want to do a project that is not just going to be successful, but it's going to be scaled across the global south. And the only way we can scale it is when we have one proof of concept, one successful community, or 2 or 3. Once we have those, it's easy to pilot and scale these projects across communities, across the global south. So it's very interesting, and we've had a very engaging conversation. And before we close this panel, I just want every speaker here to give us last words to people in the room, to potential partners, to potential investors. What would be your last words to them on the project?
Okay, thank you very much. My last word is that, okay, we are here to commemorate women. We know that by raising one woman, those who were doing this amazing project, Nobel and things like that, when you nurture a woman, you nurture the whole community, give them opportunity. That we know that, but we need to provide them with the tools and education that they need in order to be successful. That's something that all of us have a responsibility to do. And my sister was talking about carbon footprint. It doesn't matter what we are doing here. By 2050, if we don't reach this thing called net zero, it will be useless what we are going to do. So climate change is a major, major problem that we need to address. And women, minority are those who are suffering more because we don't even know, have any clue. When she was talking about carbon footprint, say, how many in the room knows what is carbon footprint? Raise your hand if you know about carbon footprint, okay? And this is actually, imagine you are one of the most educated people in the whole thing. So let's go back to, again, education 101. We are lucky to be here, but we know where we are coming from, the responsibility we have to go back there and do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My last take home for everybody will be one is we know that climate change is a must for everyone to talk about and get education. We also know that green community is also something that we all should think about because we want sustainability. We want after we are gone, the children that will leave behind, we still have an environment. And the key drivers for sustainability, green economy, green community are women. They are women and they are everywhere. That girl child, that woman needs to be educated, needs to be empowered. And she will be the driver for this green community. She will be the one that will farm. She will be the one that will sow. She will be the one that will teach the men, because a woman is the one that gives birth to both the man and the woman. So if she knows, she will equip her family rightly. So let's get doing, let's do what the needful. Let's educate and equip our women. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a couple takeaways, and most of them I'll preference in the form of statements and words. I think Her Excellency in her keynote, she said that accountability is the currency of trust. And before we can hold anyone else accountable, whether it's our governments or our public sector enablers or the private sector, we must, and my takeaway from this panel is infuse trust in our communities, in each other. And that would be a launch pad to empower our women and our girls in this particular field of energy, and surround them with, not just the promises and the general announcements, but some real milestones, just the formal agreements, the MOUs, the pathways to learn and earn. There are programs out there where we don't have to start from scratch, or let's just reinvent the wheel and label them energy for girls. So apprenticeships, how do we infuse that, get them in front of that, and hold ourselves accountable, hold them accountable, be transparent in our milestones. And that's where the accountability lives. Right now we're in a space where there's no transparency. So there's no accountability either. So, but we're not gonna worry about that. We're gonna think about how we empower the girls, the women, and everyone in this room to propel forward and go back to accountability is that currency for trust. So that's what I'll leave everyone with.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome to China. Yeah. Welcome to Beijing. I'll be waiting for you there. Yeah, and let's power Africa together. Yeah, thank you.
Wow, this has been a very, very great session. And one thing I would want to leave us with is these thoughts. Think of this little child that is struggling with a lantern to read every night. Think of that woman that is sitting in front of a firewood stove trying to cook for her family, or walking thousands of miles, hundreds of miles to just fetch a bucket of water to be able to cook for her family. Think of those young children that are on the streets with their bare feet playing football or soccer, which is what everybody knows. No, most of them don't know lawn tennis because those need tools. But even the soccer, they can play it with a plastic ball, anything they have around them, a bottle, they can play soccer with a bottle. You know, just think of those children across the global south that need their communities energized, that need this solutions, this intervention that we're advocating for, not just for them, but for the future generations that are coming after them. Because, and also, whatever we're doing, think of how it also translates across the world. Because if we don't do these things, we're talking about green energy, green economy, green everything. Whatever happens in Africa is not isolated. Africa is not isolated. Africa is, anything that happens in Africa is going to affect New York, it's going to affect China, it's going to affect. So if we don't accelerate and leapfrog the climate action in Africa, then it's going to affect everybody. So we can't sit in the room and say it's not our problem. It's our problem because it affects all of us. So please, let's all come together. Let's all think of ways that we can help these people, this demographic that we're talking about, these communities that are left behind, and ensure that we take a commitment and say, no one, no community should be left behind. Thank you very much. You have questions? Okay, well, very briefly, we can only take 2 questions because we're running out of time. One here, okay, one at the back and one here.
So thank you so much, the panelists. My name is Sweet Adesu Akundaye. I'm the Director of Legal Services from the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs in Nigeria. And thank you again for the wonderful conversation. But we're talking about energy here. It's not cheap. And I heard everybody from economic empowerment, I agree with that, to sensitization of the communities. But at the end of the day, we're talking about powering the communities. And when we talk about communities, we're talking about the poorest of the poor. Who will pay? The problem has always been that of sustainability. Projects come like, you know, this, my brother said, a lot of projects have come in and they are stuck at some point. It's always an issue of sustainability. You bring water to the community, how do they power it? You know, so who is going to pay? Are you thinking about bringing in solar free of charge, or looking for ways to make it cheaper? Because I've worked on projects also in Nigeria where we found that those projects were coming, the community is very much interested in these projects, but they don't have money to pay, probably for electricity to even power their water. So at the end of the day, sustainability is a problem. So what do we do about that? Thank you very much. And for China, kudos, they're doing a lot.
So I'm going to answer that question. And that's why we're here today, because we need the catalytic capital we're asking for, which is the $20 million we're trying to raise, is to pilot this project and see how we can create a sustainable pathway, right? Because when we go into a community and we energize the community and we're able to create economic empowerment, because once we're moving from going to just do projects and ticking a box. We're going to results-based solutions. And results-based solutions shows, and that is why we're working with the National Social Safety Net Coordinating Office. We want to see how we can graduate this community from the poverty-stricken level and say this community is now economically viable. And for them to be economically viable, they have the resources to be financial resources to be able to pay for these solutions. That's where the sustainability comes in. And then we're localizing the knowledge, the institutional knowledge. So even if we set up a 1 megawatt facility and they use it to power, which is where AI comes in, we're going to energize in a very sustainable and graduated, optimized systems that you don't just leave it on, you're using it as per it is needed, right? With those solutions in place, you're able to now enhance the community livelihood as well. And they begin to understand it and they can now scale it up within the community because they understand the system. They were trained on how to set the system up. They were trained on how to maintain those systems. So we're not going to bring people from anywhere, even from Lagos or from Abuja, to the poorest village in Maiduguri to come and set up a system for them. Yes, they will come, but they're going to train the people within the community, including the women and girls, because they know where the problem is. They know where it pinches them the most, unlike the men that sit and fold their arms. So the women will be a very strong partner in this process to drive the process and say, and also learn the process so that when they want to scale up, they can scale it individually within the community without having to look for external funding. That's the sustainability angle we're looking at. Because once it works and they see that, oh, we're doing well. That's how Taobao Village started. It started small. And once they saw that it was working, they started expanding, they started growing. So if it's what irrigation system, they need solar system to power their irrigation system. And they've done a small pilot that is working. They think of, okay, we've made money. Our crops have done better. We want to reinvest some more funds into more solar systems to power more irrigation facilities, to expand our farming capacity. So that's how it works. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, the panelists. It was a great session. I am engineer Mrs. Esther Oyeronke Oluniyi, Director, Irrigation and Drainage Department of the Federal Ministry of Water Resources. Each session that I attend in this particular program we're having, I always have the mind of what do I do back home? What can we get back home to impact our people? In my department, we have been trying to promote the use of micro irrigation, for the youths and for the women and female girls, even in schools. So in this gathering, I am here. If we have people that will be ready to partner with us back at home so that you can impact somebody, not only in Nigeria, maybe some African countries, but for me, I'm speaking for Nigeria. My office is in Abuja. I want to be able to impact more youth. We have intention to have projects in many parts of the country. We are using solar energy. And solar energy, as our panelists mentioned, is one of the energy resources that is aligning with carbon, whatever you call it, that is not emitting into the atmosphere, less pollution. And this solar energy too is capital intensive. So let's see what opportunities we have to impact some of these youth back at home. From my experience, I have 2 youths, a male and a female. They are engaged in irrigated agriculture. And I've seen that even if you give them white-collar job, they will not take it from you. We need to have more of such people so that our youth, our female and male, they will not be itching to go to other parts of the world. Like I'm here, I'm not excited to be remaining here indefinitely. I just want to finish and go back home. I don't mind coming once in a while, go back, but home is home. Home is sweet. So how can we have opportunity to tap and be a blessing to our people? You talk, I'm happy you mentioned something towards the last part, the economic returns. Yes, when we have the community having this irrigation, it's all year round, from January to December. We have for hydroponics, we have greenhouse, which will not be emitting anything.
Yeah.
We have all these things. So please, that's what I'm here for.
Thank you. That's why we're here today. That's why we're here today.
Yeah, okay, thank you. The other thing that I want to say for all those who are here, who are going back and things like that, one of the major challenges we have is that I personally know people that left here, went home, and they were not received well because of the government not being transparent. Okay, so we do know a lot of people in our communities here that wouldn't mind going back there if fine. I will take an example. The current Prime Minister of India, when he was chief minister, they call it governor, but they call it chief minister. Despite the corruption that was endemic in India, everyone knew that that guy, nobody was corrupt. There was no corruption in that place. So people saw him come before he became prime minister. Find one governor like that. That's going to do that. Or he doesn't have a governor, a place where guys, you come there, you can guarantee you no corruption, no this, no have to pay, no red tape and things like that. Because that's what actually one of the major problems we're having for people investing in our people back there.
Thank you very much. So we have the government officials here. We're going to engage. That's the whole essence of this. We're going to have a call to action where we're going to start looking at setting up those partnerships. So we're going to go into that. Thank you all so much. I believe we've come to the end of this panel. Thanks to our panelists. Thank you to everybody.